Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how do we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started. It's the E-Commerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart Mraz and John Suter. The E-Commerce Minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's E-Commerce Minute episode 600.
In today's episode, Google to offer checking accounts in partnership with banks next year.
The value for big tech companies to offer financial services is immeasurable. It's a way to not only understand consumers better, but to ultimately get the juicy insight into consumers' financial habits. Even Captain Obvious saw this one coming. Google is now getting into the banking industry. Google will offer checking accounts next year in a partnership with financial institutions like Citigroup, which up to now could possibly be big tech's boldest move yet into consumer banking. Google is calling the project Cash, C-A-C-H-E, not C-A-S-H, and it'll partner with other banks and credit unions to offer checking accounts, with the banks handling all financial and compliance activities related to the accounts. Consumers will be able to access their checking accounts through Google's digital wallet, Google Pay, which piggybacks off of Alphabet's attempts at boosting the overall usage of the app. According to the Wall Street Journal, Google's approach seems designed to make allies rather than enemies in both camps, since the financial institution's brands, not Google's, will be front and center on all of the accounts. Google also hasn't decided whether the checking accounts would charge fees, like other banks that sometimes charge fees to certain customers who may carry smaller balances or don't use their debit cards that often. The biggest obstacle the company will face is convincing a public that's increasingly wary of how tech companies are using personal data and that it can be actually trusted with people's finances. Federal regulators are now examining whether the user information Google gets from its search engine, home speakers, email service, and other apps gives the company an unfair advantage over competitors. So it's a sure bet their banking won't go unexamined. The move comes at a time when competition in the financial space is heating up. Apple introduced its credit card this summer, and Amazon has talked to banks about offering checking accounts. Facebook is also working on a digital currency it hopes will upend global payments, as well as other financial services. So we'll see how the tech giants compete. I have thoughts.
I have first thoughts. Welcome to episode 600. That's crazy.
600 episodes, ladies and gentlemen. 600 episodes. We started this podcast in June of 2017. Was that correct?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yep. Look how we've grown.
I'm here now.
And Brittany's here now. We had a child.
John, that's just... Wow. Okay. Back to this. Well, I mean, Apple Card just got in trouble for stuff. And then I think Google might get in trouble for this stuff too if they use all the knowledge they have, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot here. As Bart mentioned, Apple got in trouble because people were, guys, help me out here, was the husbands and wives who shared banking got different credit scores.
Yeah, even though they have the same credit scores, they were getting it was the how much credit they got.
Yeah,
they have the same credit
right.
Scores,
the credit line, even though. So you could be married and the woman would make more money, but the man would get more of a credit line. Is that correct?
Correct.
There was the one thread. The way I discovered it was DHH, David Hansen, whatever his name is, from Basecamp, the Ruby on Rails guy. He started a thread because he was complaining about his wife. And then all these people started pitching. And I literally spent a half hour reading it.
Including Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, Steve Wozniak said, my wife would do the same thing. And Goldman was like, of course, it's not Apple's product, it's Goldman Sachs. And they were like, well, we're trying to be transparent and we're trying to, it just turned out to be more of a PR disaster than anything.
Yeah. But I mean,
it hasn't really been, right? It hasn't been resolved, has it?
I believe Goldman Sachs were going back, or Apple was going back and looking at all the data from everybody that got a card.
Fair enough. Okay, so the jury is still out.
Jury's still out. I mean, Google, you could kind of imagine they could do the same thing, right?
Well, the spicy takes that I read this morning, the best quote that sums it up: Google isn't getting into banking; it's getting into banking data. They're going after your data, not your money. One in Forbes, they said, Google's announcement should win an award for best non-announcement. It's nothing but a whole pile of, well, nothing. Google is offering a smart checking account, but neither it nor its partners know what it is. What fancy new features will smart checking include? Google's insured. Neither are its partners. So why did they announce this then?
Who knows?
Sounds good.
It sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to paraphrase the Forbes article. There's 4 reasons that this could possibly be happen. It's a Google Pay play because Google Pay is lagging behind on all the other payment methods. And again, the Apple Card is kind of like shouting in their left ear. So they're going, we got to do something. Point number 2, it's a preclude to someone else's smart checking announcement. Google might know that someone else is about to drop something big. Could be Amazon, could be someone else. Doesn't really say. Number 3, it could be an Android play. They could be building in banking functionality into new Android devices with Google's banking partners. And finally, it could be just a bank services play, which that's what I think it is. Does Google want to be a digital banking provider? Is it a partnership? Do they want to just have this third party do that? And then as Google would do 2 years later, go, we're dropping our partners and this is ours now. And I just want to give credit to Forbes. The article's called Google Checking Accounts and the Emperor's New Clothes. The contributor was Ron Shelban. I don't want to think that we were ripping off Forbes, but there was some good information there this morning. Go ahead, Bart.
Oh, I was going to say today I was just kind of browsing through the news like we always do. And it looked like I think Apple Pay just surpassed PayPal payments.
Ooh.
I believe it.
So because of the card, right?
Because of the card
attaches, right? Because that attaches to it. I own it and I love the Apple Card for some reason. Just I like it. I like how it works. It makes sense. Although I get really weird looks when I hand them over the actual card at a restaurant. They're like, there's no numbers.
Big white clinky thing.
They're like, where's the numbers? I'm like, there isn't any. Just swipe it.
Yeah, I've found that I've been using it for everything because I like the tracking of it. I like the cash back. Although it's not as good as other cards. Like it's out all the credit cards. Well, you can get a better card. I'm like, yeah, this is on my phone, and this gives me tracking of everything.
Yeah, but you get money back, right?
You get your money back. Yeah. So
everything else works on points. This works on actual money.
You get the cash back like the next day or the same day. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So what I've been doing is I've just been using the card, walking around with the card, and then at the end of the week, and go, okay, Apple, here's your money, and I'm able to control things a little bit better. But anyway, this is about Google. Could you imagine? It's almost like, Bart, you've pointed out last week about the Facebook portal. It's like, talk about companies that maybe aren't so self-aware. It's like, yeah, Google is going to do banking.
You're like, well, I mean, to be fair, between Android Pay or Google Pay, right? And you can pay through your Gmail and through mail itself. I mean, they kind of have it built in, so you could do banking that way already.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they are almost there. The payment facility is there. It's getting into just the more consumer touchy-feely.
Yeah.
Now, the way they're going to try to sell this is that they want to do. They think that consumers want data analysis tools, and survey says people don't really use that kind of stuff. I mean, some people do, but by and large, people don't use that stuff. They basically, what they want out of banking is, how can I get my money easier? How can I know how much I have? And how can you make it the least frictionless way possible to get, send, transfer, pay bills, and work with my money? End of story. The data analysis stuff, that's just like a little gravy on the top. I don't think a lot of people care about that.
Probably not. I guess we got to see what happens with it overall.
Yeah, well, I mean, the weird thing is it's very vague. It's almost like a non-announcement because they announced it and then there's really nothing. There's no meat to it. So again, the Forbes analysis is very concise, and it could be a precursor to something else, but we don't know what that something else is yet.
Right.
Now, Google is having their own things with Britt, you found some information about that?
Yeah, the Justice Department is actually opening a huge antitrust review into whether the big tech firms are unlawfully stifling competition and monopolizing it. So they're adding a new threat from Washington for like Facebook, Google, Amazon,
the threat du jour.
Yeah, right.
Threat of the week.
Multiple
And also,
threats.
wasn't there something about health data that Google was storing, and now they just bought Fitbit? I mean, it's like,
Oh yeah. Which is like, okay. Like,
buy the big camera for your house from Facebook, and Google will give you all our money too.
there's truly like no self-awareness. It's so crazy.
As Gavin Belson would say, these companies have no Tethics.
Tethics.
You've got no Tethics.
You can put your thumb.
Never get with the thumb, yeah. We're in case you don't know what we're giggling about, if you don't watch Silicon Valley, it's a thread of one of the episodes. Go watch it. It's a funny show.
Tethics.
It's a good show.
Tethics. Brittany.
Yes.
Do you have the ad?
I do. She's up.
Brittany, why don't you tell us who's sponsoring episode number 600 of this wonderful podcast?
It's actually pretty crazy because today's sponsor is us.
That was me spitting water on my screen. Tell me more.
I'll tell you. Hey, listeners, and John, did you know that Sumo Heavy has a weekly newsletter? Yep, you heard that correctly. Sumo Heavy publishes a weekly newsletter filled with our latest blog posts, e-commerce news, and tips, as well as e-commerce events and job listings. We've also got a feature called Our Latest Obsession, which is our one favorite thing we found on the internet that week. Each jam-packed email drops bright and early every single Friday morning, so look out for it. Get in the know and join our other super smart subscribers by heading over to bit.ly/Sumo Heavy Newsletter. You can subscribe and also read all of our past issues while you're there. Don't get left out. All the cool kids are doing it. Subscribe now. Go.
Go bit.ly/Sumo Heavy Newsletter for our fantastic newsletter. We're going to wrap this one up a little Google stat time. 58% of people recently surveyed by McKinsey & Company said they would trust financial products from Google. That number seems a little high. Google Pay is on track to have 100 million users worldwide in 2020, up from 39 million in 2018, according to estimates from Juniper Research. The Federal Reserve estimates there are 55 million unbanked or underbanked adult Americans in 2018, which accounts for 22% of U.S. households. One report found the nationwide rates to be 7.7% unbanked and 17.9% underbanked, with the most unbanked state, Mississippi, at 16.4%. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. All right, you guys got anything else?
Nope.
All right, that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at Sumo Heavy.